Hey guys, just as a little side piece to the Boomsday meta video that we put out, I wanted to go back through some of the Boomsday cards that didn't see a lot of play and see what might have some potential going forward with Rastakhan's coming out. And so I'm gonna show, the entire collection, but I have a list separate of cards that I specifically want to talk about. But as we go through, if anything comes to mind, I'll kind of, you know, put up my thoughts about cards that might be good going into the new metagame. With Druid, they tried to push the Treant Druid. I think it's garbage. I think that even in Token Druid, the Treant package is not worth it, even though you already run Soul of the Forest. So Treant Druid is not going to be good. And then most of the other cards that weren't Treant Druid related actually saw play, except for Gloop Slayer. Gloop Slayer is not very good, so that's okay. I don't see that getting better. Hunter, it's kind of interesting they tried to push the whole Goblin Bomb package. There wasn't even Goblin Bomb Hunter that I saw going around for a while. I think that deck might have some potential, but essentially there's nothing from Hunter that I really see being super good. I think Necromaniac as a card, with Playdead and cubes and stuff, if the metagame slows down a bit, could be really strong, but that's pretty fringe, and then Flarix I don't think is going to be good at all. Mage, before the Mana Worm nerf hit, the Cosmic Anomaly was really strong in Tempo Mage. Stargazer Luna saw play. This card, Kibler experimented with and found that it was not very good. This sees played in Big Spell Mage. With some of the new spells coming out, especially, I think it's called Blast Wave, it's a 5 mana Mage clear. I think that Celestial Emissary is going to see its time to shine in the Rastakhan's Rumble metagame. I think that Celestial Emissary combined with Shooting Star combined with Blast Wave and then some like high value big minions is gonna make a control mage like really good, especially with Throstless Drain as a finisher. Luna's is interesting. I think that eventually one day in Wild it'll be good, but I don't think in Standard it's ever gonna be a card that really sees play. Going into Paladin, Mech aggro Paladin seemed pretty bad. I do think that a Mechano Egg Paladin will become a thing with Kangors. It's already somewhat of a thing. I have a list that I have like a 55% win rate with, but it's not super polished. It's kind of like dumpster tier legend, so it doesn't have the best competition. But it's definitely an interesting deck as a whole. I think Crystal Smith Kangor is going to be really, really strong with some of the, I think it's called High Priestess the Call, that converts all of your health to mana, or all but one of your health to armor. So that seems cool. Crystology is always something to look at. Tutor effects in card games are almost always incredibly powerful. So I haven't really been looking at what this draws from the new set. What comes to mind first is the 2 mana 1/3 that when you buff it goes into your deck. This can help if you have all your buffs but you haven't drawn that yet. You can tutor that into your hand. Prismatic Lens is a card which I have no idea. I'm not the best deck builder. I'm not the smartest person to ask about Prismatic Lens, but I think at some point this will become a card that sees a lot of play in some sort of deck. So I'm surprised that this didn't really see its time to shine. People tried it in one turn kill Paladin with Uther. I think that's just way too inconsistent, but I think this will be really interesting. I also think that going to the new meta Glowstone Technician, if the meta slows down a little bit more, because it's already like it's fairly slow. I'd say it's not like a mid-range meta because there's not really that many mid-range decks, but it's not the fastest metagame we've ever had. I think Glowstone Tech, if it slows down a bit, could be really strong. I've been experimenting with it in Mechanoic Paladin, that list that I mentioned, because anything with magnetic keeps the +2/+2 when you magnetize it. It helps with the eggs if you don't have an activator, and it just makes like kind of your shitty minions good. So like if you have a Serenite sitting in your hand or a Corpse Taker sitting in your hand, or even just like a 2 mana 2/3, it becomes a 2 mana 4/5. That's really strong. So I think Glowstone Technician's a card to watch out for. Going into Priest, Topsy Turvy has seen play. Test Subject, it's in the Test Subject OTK deck, which was really popular for a little bit, but I don't see that deck ever becoming actually competitively viable, just because it's so easy to mess up and it takes so many resources, and it's just a very difficult deck. But I do think the Test Subject could find its way into some sort of priest deck. This is something to keep out for. There was an aggro, quote unquote aggro priest that ran extra arms to keep getting extra arms with test subject and stuff like that. But that seems interesting. This could be really good. Power word replicate is something that hasn't seen play, so I thought I'd mention it. I don't really think it's too good, but there's probably some combo eventually that makes it good. Going into Rogue, I think Academic Espionage, obviously it wasn't really made as a competitive card, but it's seen tons of play. It's one of my favorite cards of the expansion. I think that eventually we might actually just hit a point where it becomes competitively viable. Um, Especially again if the meta slows down, getting those extra 20 cards in your deck could be really important. So I could see this becoming good. And then the last card I want to talk about for Rogue was Crazed Chemist. Um, Back when Tempo Kaliseth Rogue was a thing, um, this was a card that I would have tried slotting in. Obviously, it didn't exist at that time. Um, Even since like it came out, Odd Rogue has obviously been the go-to Rogue aggro deck. But I've tried putting together Tempo Kaliseth lists, and I ran one of this guy, and it never felt too good, but it never felt like that bad. So I think with some support, I think a Tempo Kaliseth Rogue could work out before Kaliseth rotates out, and I think that this would be a good one of in that deck. Going into Shaman, basically, like I don't think there's a new with Rustcons. There's a new Malygos Eureka combo deck that can one-turn kill if you're at 32 health. I don't think it's going to be consistent enough to see play, but I do think that all of these overload cards, so Thunderhead, Beakered Lightning, Voltaic Burst, stuff like that, I think overload as a mechanic is something to look out for. Um, they they tried to push it a little bit in this expansion. As you can tell, this is all the Boomsday cards, and they pushed 3 really strong um, overload synergy cards, and it just didn't seem to be enough. But I think that with a little more support, even not even with overload synergy cards, just with other cards that happen to be good in that deck, overload as a mechanic could really come out to shine. I also think that if elementals remain a shaman theme, then this card could be really good, just because extra resources are really strong. Going into Warlock, lots of the Warlock cards saw play. Solarium was in Zoo, this was in Zoo, even Warlock, even Warlock. There was a really weird demon, like, Ectomancy Zoo deck going around for a couple days. It was pretty bad. Someone hit Legend with it, though, so I had to try it. It was fun. It was not very good. I do think that Ectomancy is a strong, like, a powerful card that could see play eventually, though. Um, I'm not sure exactly how, but I think that the chance to get extra Void Lords and stuff is just really powerful. So maybe like a one of in Q block, or maybe something new comes out. There's some new demons that are really strong. I think this could potentially be really good. Um, Going into Warrior, this saw play, this saw play. Rocket Boots seems bad. I don't think it will ever see play. This saw play in the what was it called? The Boomship Malygos Mecha'thun OTK deck. Um, it's also good weapon removal. Having weapon removal that's not one of the oozes is pretty strong. Because it means you don't have to run ooze in your deck. Because this is okay versus aggro. If you're playing against druids that run Twig, I played Weapons Project a lot in the early games or in the early like meta of Boomsday, because I was trying out that Malygos Mecha'thun OTK, and this was in that, and it hits a lot of weapons. So if weapons become prevalent, this is definitely a card to watch out for. And then I think the Boomship, it already has an OTK associated with it with Mecha'thun. I think just with enough value minions or taunt minions, it could be really good. Big Warrior with Recruit could be something to look out for. Going into neutrals, there wasn't too much that I saw. Um, Essentially, like I think Whirly Glider could find a home somewhere, just because if somehow these bombs become useful, this is like the best bomb card that we have. Explodinator in the same vein is okay. I think that bombs might find a way into some sort of deck. I'm just not quite sure what that's going to be. I also think Toxicologist, obviously it's used in Kingsbane Rogue, and like it's sometimes run in the test rogues to get Spectral Cutlass, some extra lifesteal. Um, but I've always thought, my first thought when I saw this was that Light's Justice in like a super aggro paladin could be good. That would obviously mean that you have to run aggro paladin, not odd paladin, so I'm not sure how likely that happens, but I think Toxicologist is something to watch out for. as we said, Explodinator might be worth considering. Kaboombot. This was not one that was on my list initially. I actually just remembered that this card did see a little bit of fringe play, and I wanted to talk about it. There was a quest priest that had Alex Raza and then the Shadow Reaper Anduin with Mind Blasts and Holy Fire combo that ran both Kaboombot and I can't remember the name of the other card, but it's the 2 mana 1/1 elemental from Ungoro that deals 3 damage. Voltaic elemental, I think. Essentially, it ran those in the early game to combat aggro, and then your Twilight's Call, instead of bringing back card draw like it typically did in Quest Priest, it brings back those to help you control the board. And then against control, you still ran the draw package, and you would just win through Alexstrasza and then Shadowy Brand and burst and combo and stuff like that. So I think that maybe something like that could be useful, but that's pretty fringe. I don't think it'll be super good. Going into these, I think Loose Specimen is a card that could be pushed over the edge. There's currently both an Odd Warrior that runs Gunspire and Frothing Berserker and Gurubashi Berserker and stuff like that that's seen some experimentation. I believe that was made by Chump HS. He's a YouTuber. That deck is really interesting. It's not good yet, but I think that a deck like that could be very strong going forward, given how seeing how the meta works out, seeing if it has any more support cards. Um, Aside from that, it's good with Acolyte of Pain already, so maybe it finds a way into something with that. I think that this is just a card to look out for because it's a 5 mana 6/6 with a potential upside. And there was one more card I wanted to talk about. I could have sworn. Let's see. There was not some actually. Oh yeah, there was. 2 mana Cloakscale Chemist. So the last card I want to talk about is this guy. He's a 2 mana 1/2 Stealth Divine Shield. I think if you can fit this guy into, if there's an aggro deck that uses lots of buffs, he's really strong. He's currently used in some versions of Quest Paladin, just because he kind of serves the same purpose that Silent Knight did, because Silent Knight in Wild was used in Quest Paladin, and um, it's just a body that's very hard to get rid of because it has both Stealth and Divine Shield, so it survives lots of AoEs. Um, it's a great buff target. So I think if more buffs get printed, especially early game, so like I could see this going in Even Shaman to use with Earthen Might and Flame Tongue Totem, stuff like that. This could be a like sleeper card of the set. There was a thread on Reddit, I think like 2 days ago, that like basically pushed this card. Everyone was saying, "Oh my god, dude, it's actually really good. I can't believe no one uses it." And then obviously no one uses it, but I think it could be really good. So I wanted to give that a little honorable mention. That mostly came from that Reddit thread, though. I don't think that this will see a ton of play. But yeah, so going forward, there's still some cards from the Boomsday that didn't really get their time to shine that I think will have a chance. And hopefully, you know, with the introduction to new cards, we're obviously going to use a lot of those. But it's always nice when you get to find a little like secret pick in old expansions that can be useful now. So hopefully that helps with a little bit of theory crafting, deck building, stuff like that. And that's going to be all. So yeah, thanks for watching, and don't forget to check out the other videos.